The scriptures from the lectionary this morning are a bit different than what you find in the bulletins. The Old Testament reading, yes. The Psalm, yes. The epistle, no. Instead of the epistle, there should be a gospel inserted in there, and the gospel will be from John chapter 1, verses 43 to 51. We'll start this morning with the reading from the Old Testament, coming from 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. Listen. It is the Lord calling Samuel. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. And in those days, the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. One night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God has not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here am I." And he ran to Eli and said, "I am here. You called me." But Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. Again the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. And the Lord called Samuel a third time. And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling at other times, like the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." And then from Psalm chapter 139, it is verses 1 through 6, and then 13 through 18. Listen. "O Lord, you have searched me, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar in all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. You hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in a secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I wake, I am still with you. And then from the Gospel of John, Jesus calls Philip and Nathanael. It is chapter 1, verses 43 through 51. Listen to the word of the Lord. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the same town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael said. "Come and see," said Philip. Approaching Jesus, when Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said to him, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is nothing false." "How do you know me?" he asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. And Jesus said, do you believe because I told you I saw you under a fig tree? You shall see greater things than that. And then he added, I tell you the truth. You shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
The sermon title this morning is called The Invitation. Now, if you remember back to my Easter message, you may or may not, that I delivered this past April, I referenced back to the old Dick and Jane readers that we were first used when we first learned to read. Maybe you did not, but me. The words were simple, warm, and an invitation for us to learn. It was to learn how to read. The old books that said, see Dick, see Jane, see Spot, see Spot run. Well, today's message falls into the use of those same words. Well, actually, only two of them. The ones I used at Easter were come, see, go, and tell. Today, it's come and see. It's a true invitation. Come and see what God can do. And then go and tell, person to person. Now, the passage from John this morning retells how it really works. The Christian faith is passed on from person to person, and that's how it started with Jesus. And that's how it's been for 2,000 plus years. When Jesus went to Galilee, he had called Peter and Andrew to join him. Then he invited Philip, who was from the same town of Andrew and Peter, the town of Bethsaida. Philip then decided that he had to share that good news with Nathanael. Philip is excited. He's willing to spread the news that we have found the one that Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also told. He tells Nathanael that Jesus is the son of Joseph from the town of Nazareth. But Nathanael is skeptic. The issue seems to be Jesus' hometown. Nathanael isn't impressed by people from a rival community, especially that of Nazareth. How can anything good come from Nazareth? Now, I grew up in a small town, or on a farm near a small town of Little Lake, about 95 miles northeast of here. Went to school there. And the Little Lake Pirates had the same feeling that Nathanael had of Nazareth as we did about the town of Bryant. We always thought that the people from Little Lake, the Little Lake Pirates, were a little bit superior. How could anything good come out of the town of Bryant? You see, people just don't expect great things to come from small, insignificant communities like Nazareth, which in Jesus' time had a population of about 400 people. Even though we find throughout history they are littered with examples of many who have come from small, insignificant communities and have made a great difference. But Philip isn't deterred by Nathanael's somewhat lack of enthusiasm. Philip just says, come see. It's simply an invitation to come and see what this man and what his faith is all about. And believe this, it's the same invitation that Nathanael received that we should receive. You will only know him if you come and see. But what was it about Jesus that caused people to believe in him and follow him with no evidence, no real knowledge of who this person really was? Jesus did not need to impress people by his appearance. There was just something about him that drew people to him. What was it? What was it about Jesus to have that kind of effect on people? Now, in the New Testament, it gives us a slight hint about that concluding statement in Matthew on the Sermon on the Mount. Their observation was, for he taught them with one having authority, not as their scribes. One with authority. And in 2 weeks, my message will be about that. The amazing, astonishing authority of Jesus. You'll have to come back. Now, certainly that we have all seen or been around someone that seemed to have what I would call a magnetic personality. Someone who just seems to draw people close to them. I think that's probably what people saw, one of the things that people saw in Jesus. There had to have been something magnetic about Jesus' personality to have such an immediate effect on people. People meet Jesus, and they are changed. And then they tell others what happened. And that's how it's worked ever since the time of Jesus. One person says to another, I follow Jesus. And I invite you to do so also. Come and see. It's a person-to-person invitation. Now, the spread of the Christian church across the world is a person-to-person story, an invitation as people fanned out across the globe to tell the story about Jesus and what Jesus had done for them, enthusiastically saying, come and see. The Old Testament lesson for today carries the same message, person to person. But here, there's a slight twist. The boy Samuel was ministering before the Lord under the priest Eli, which to me probably would be something like an alakite, or an acolyte, I should say, someone who assists in the church service in today's world. God called him, Samuel, Samuel. And the boy naturally assumed it was Eli that was calling. And when it happened several more times, Eli realized it was God that was calling, and instructed the boy to say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And when Samuel heard God's call once again on the fourth time, he responded as Eli told him. And God told him what message he was to deliver to Eli. And the pattern in this story is still person to person. This time, it's God to Samuel, with Eli being in the middle, and then from Samuel to Eli, person to person. So as a Christian, our job is not to prove the truth about our Christian faith. We actually don't need to persuade others to be